Hey guys, it's Rob here and welcome to my Avengers Endgame video. So in my last video about Avengers Endgame, I posed the question, was Avengers Endgame a bad movie? And I talked about the good, the bad, and the confusing parts of Endgame. And I got some comments from you guys and it got me to thinking, instead of ignoring the problems of Avengers Endgame, let's talk about them. First off, Avengers Endgame was not perfect. Let's get that straight out the gate. This movie does a lot of good, but it also has a lot of big problems that people are ignoring. So one of the big problems that I see a lot of people complaining about is the plot. The plot of Avengers Endgame continues from Avengers Infinity War. Throughout the movie we see time travel, Black Widow's death, Captain America retiring, Tony's death, and even the movie setting up time travel rules. Time travel in Avengers Endgame is what created a lot of plot holes that not only break entire movies in the MCU like Captain America 1, 2, and 3, and basically anything that Captain America was in, but also completely ignores things that happen in the movie itself. Like for instance, Cap's shield being magically fixed after Thanos destroyed it, or Thor's hammer magically disappearing and not being with Captain America when he sits on that bench. Now you could say everything I've said this far makes no sense when it has to do with time travel because they set the rules up. In Avengers Endgame, how time travel works is that the past does not affect the future. That whole scene where they're making constant jokes about different movies and different plot lines from other movies like Back to the Future and all those time travel movies, that kind of time travel is not in this movie. But if that's the case, then why the hell is Captain America there? If he were to go back in time, as I understand the time travel in the MCU, that means he should be on a different timeline. Captain America should not be in their timeline. He shouldn't appear on that bench. Now, funny enough, this could have been fixed all by saying, yes, the past does affect the future. It would have made a lot more sense if they would have put that rule instead of some dumb rule where the past doesn't affect the future and just wanting to pass it off as a joke. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make you laugh in that scene, and they compromised the plot by doing so. Moving on, we have the fan service argument. The fact that all this movie has is fan service, and this I have to disagree on. While I do agree that this movie does have a lot of fan service, like Thor wielding two weapons, Captain America wielding Thor's hammer, the smart Hulk, the send-off for Cap and Tony using the Infinity Gauntlet, and so on, these moments are well deserved and well placed because previous movies have set them up. We have seen these characters grow over time and change over time, and this isn't really fan service. These are payoffs for people who have stuck with the MCU so far. It's just like in the comics, if you see a character grow and he finally gets to that fantastic moment where he dons his cape or does a new power or something like that, it's very great in a fantastic moment because we've been with this character up until that point. Now, another problem that I see a lot of people talking about is, of course, that one scene in the last battle where all the females stop what they're doing, stop fighting their enemies, stop fighting Thanos, and magically go over to Spider-Man to help him. Now, I've seen three ways that people are taking this. One, people are taking this as a political statement by Brie Larson or the directors, whoever's choice was it to make this scene happen. Second one is, of course, the people are saying, oh yeah, girl power, it's a girl power moment. The third one is people are saying that it's kind of a nod to the A-Force, an all-female Avenger. Considering the character that brought upon this scene, Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, I'm guessing it was a political statement. That's the only thing I can see this at. Now, even if you don't think it's a political statement, the fact that they placed it right in the middle of this battle ruins the flow of the passing of the gauntlet and the entire scene. This scene would be better placed in maybe an A-Force movie or an all-female Avengers movie, where maybe the final battle is happening and they defeat the battle, and it's kind of a reflection of what happened at the end of the first Avengers, but with all females on screen attacking the enemy that they were battling in the last scene. That's where I think this should have been placed, in maybe an all-female Avengers movie, which actually there are some rumblings and some people do want that, so I think that's where it would be better placed. Or maybe if the scene had all the females together in that scene, and that would make a lot more sense because of course they're surrounding the bad guy and the only ones that are there are the female Avengers. That's where I think it can be placed, but it placed right in the middle of the last Avengers Endgame battle, and that shouldn't have happened. It makes no sense, interrupts the flow of the scene, and honestly, it's cringy. It's really cringy. Now, one of the problems I have with the film is, of course, with Thor and Hulk. I mentioned that in my past two videos about Avengers Endgame. Thor in Avengers Endgame was a joke. They reduced him to only comedy relief. He had a gut, he was drinking beer, and sure, that was funny for a while, but after they kept slamming in your face saying, look, he's drunk, he's sad, it was just annoying to the point where I just didn't want to see him on screen until that final fight. There's another complaint that I hear a lot of people saying, and it's that Avengers Endgame has a lot of cool action scenes that are making people ignore the bad problems of the film, and this I can see happening. A lot of times when you have a movie that looks really good and has a decent flow of plot and actually leads up to something that's spectacular like Avengers Endgame, last scene, or Tony's funeral, it can let people forget about the bad of the movie. I mean, if you look back on any movie or game, or like one of the Mass Effect games, I forgot which game, but the ending of one of the Mass Effect games was highly controversial, but leading up to that point, I've heard people say that the game was actually good, but they left on such a bad point story-wise that now people remember that game as a bad game. And I really think that's what's happening here with Avengers Endgame. There's so much good that happened in that last third act with the last battle and Tony's funeral and the send-off for some of the characters that I think a lot of people are just choosing to either ignore the problems of the film or saying, yeah, it did so much good in that last act, I think I can just forget about the problems of the film. And honestly, that's what I did. I'm not gonna lie, that's what I did. The movie does a lot of good in my opinion, and I think that's why I'm being more forgiving of its problem. Unlike movies, say Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was a travesty in my opinion in CGI, plot flow, action, everything. I'm sure I can find more, but in the end, I enjoyed Avengers Endgame despite having flaws and things I don't agree with. I think it's a good movie, but it's not perfect, and honestly, I don't think it's better than Infinity War the more I think about it. I think Infinity War was definitely a better film. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section. In the end, this is my opinion. I'm not wrong, and I'm not right. So tell me yours in the comment section, and let's talk about Endgame in the comment section. Thanks for watching.